If you've been lying awake at night and thinking, should I stay at my 9 to 5 that pays me well, or should I finally start my own business? I've been you. 1 year ago, I left a successful career in Silicon Valley as a business strategist and an engineer to bet on myself with a complete career pivot. And in this video, I want to give you the real, unfiltered truth. Consider this as my 1 year update. We will talk about which one is better in 2025, having a job or having a business. We'll be analyzing pros and cons of each, and we will also look at the research and data. And make sure to stick around till the end because I'll be sharing whether I regret my decision. After 1 year, I quit my Silicon Valley job to go full-time as a business owner. Let's get into it. So as I said, we're going to look at the job versus business, pros and cons. Let's talk about the 9 to 5 jobs first. We'll first talk about the pros. First of all, if you're watching this, you're probably making a good income, probably a six-figure income in your 9 to 5. So you kind of get the best in terms of pros. But think about it. Not everyone has a six-figure income. You're going to assume that you have the best jobs, you're working in tech, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you are a lawyer, you're making a good six-figure income with a great title, and everyone thinks that you did the best. Obviously, the first pro, and this is the thing that I think most people stay in the jobs that they hate, is the predictable paycheck. Honestly, nothing can compete with this. This is the best part of having a 9 to 5. In fact, it's probably the only good part of having a 9 to 5 because you'll never have this in your business, even though you make more than a 9 to 5 paycheck. Because of the nature of entrepreneurship and having a business, your paycheck or income is probably never going to be the same every month. Next, cool titles. This is definitely something I saw in many people. They're kind of feeling pride working for a certain tech company or being a manager or having a cool title and working for a well-known company. They see it as a status. So we can consider this as a pro, but I think we have to ask ourselves, how much does that really contribute to our fulfillment and happiness in our lives? The third thing is stability, which I think we should put a question mark here. Because in 2025, I don't think this exists anymore in terms of the job security. There are constantly layoff news in every single tech company, in like other areas, and even in government jobs. We all know what happened. So yeah, I mean, this can be definitely a pro compared to early stages of entrepreneurship. But honestly, this doesn't even really exist in 9 to 5 jobs anymore, I believe, and based on what I see. Obviously, benefits, health insurance and 401k. So I'll just summarize it as benefits. There are more things to discuss about this, so we're going to get into that. I believe this is not the way that it looks, okay? So you have the 401k and you have the health insurance, right? I just finished the taxes and I learned in my business, I can actually deduct my health insurance expense as my business expense. So my health insurance is essentially free, right? And I know so many people stay in 9 to 5 jobs because health insurance and paying for their own 401k and all of that is so expensive. And honestly, I like the employer contribution of 401k as a benefit because it's literally free money every month. But when you think about how much they actually contribute, you can contribute it with just one sale from your business. So is that a real deal breaker for me? I don't think so. I think it's still a pro, and we can put it here. And the last pro of having a 9 to 5 is you can actually mentally clock out when it's 5 p.m. and you can clock out on weekends. You can have that peace of mind and you don't have to work. I'm going to put a question mark here as well, because in some cases, this might be true in 9 to 5 jobs. But I don't think it represents the reality because especially if you are working a high-paying, high-pressure, stressful, high-paced job. And majority of the six-figure jobs are like this because they're going to make sure that you pay the price for a six-figure salary. Let me give you an example. Majority of the jobs in Silicon Valley are very competitive. You have to work on the weekends. You have to attend on Sunday evening calls, which I did for a couple of years, and that depressed me. So even though 9 to 5 jobs looks like just a 5-day 9 to 5 job, the stress that you go through if you're working a high-paced and high-paying job is just 24/7. I still put this as a pro, as a positive thing. But I don't know what's the percentage of the jobs that this is actually true, because I know so many people who have six-figure jobs that they can't clock out even on the weekends. So let's get to the cons. And obviously there are so many things that I can list here, but I think even one of the cons that I'm going to talk about here is worth so much that I decided to summarize it in just four. So the first one is your time, energy, expertise, and impact belongs to someone else. So I'm going to summarize this as ownership. You have no ownership if you're working a 9-to-5 job. Your time, the things that you work on, who you're working with, what you're working on, the impact you're making, how you choose to spend your energy and time and everything. Whatever you have to do is told by someone else, and someone else is in control. And this doesn't even change if you become a CEO, because then there are the stakeholders, there is the board that is telling you what to do. They are your boss, right? That's kind of how the corporate ladder works. So all the resources that you put into, it's someone else's, it's not in your control, and it's not yours. First thing is enough by its own, I think, in terms of pros. The second one is limited growth in terms of income, in terms of learning, in terms of opportunities. Because of the nature of the corporate ladder, there are only very few spots at the top, right? So there is so much competition and there are very limited opportunities in terms of how much you can increase your income, how many opportunities you have. So it's definitely a game that you have to play by someone else's rules, not your own rules. And the third one, you're building something, you're spending all this time and you're essentially trading your time for the paycheck. And what you're building is someone else's dream and not yours. So I'm going to summarize this as having no purpose, because what you're working towards with purpose is your dream, right? So in this scenario, it doesn't exist because it's not your thing. It's not your purpose. It's not your dream. It's not your project or business. So essentially what you're doing is you're giving all your time, your youth, your life away to build for someone else. And eventually when you exit that job, nothing's gonna be yours except how much you saved in your bank account. And the last con we kind of talk about here, but I think this is a very important thing to emphasize because of the changing job market right now. And there is no job security anymore in 2025. And I'm emphasizing this because there's so many people staying at 9-to-5 jobs because it's secure. Then in reality, it's just not true. It's an illusion, basically. So no security, or we can also say false sense of security. Now let's talk about having a business, pros and cons. I'm gonna warn you, this gets romanticized a lot. So I wanna be fully transparent here and I wanna talk about true pros and cons here, based on my own experience and what I hear from others. So the first pro, and I think this worth everything, is freedom. You own your time, your expertise, your projects, your impact, which location you do this from, who you work with. You own everything, you decide everything, so you can do whatever you want. And there's so many things to talk about here, but I think it just explains itself. This is worth everything, because when you have the time and location and just freedom in general, you can multiply your fulfillment, you can multiply your income, you can do so many things that are much aligned with you compared to working for someone else. Second one, and I think this is the most important one, because this truly fuels your life fulfillment and how successful you're going to be, and it's your purpose. I think the biggest problem with majority of the high-paying 9-to-5 jobs is they pay well, they satisfy the materialistic needs, but they don't satisfy people's purpose needs. People aren't feeling that they're making a meaningful impact. When you're able to find your true life purpose, when you're able to leverage that in your business and build a business around your purpose, around the life that you want to design, and around the impact that you want to make in the world, then you get to build something that aligns with your values and who you truly are. And that multiplies your income, your success, your motivation, and overall your life fulfillment. Which takes us to the third one, which is unlimited income potential. Obviously, I have to be objective here. First few years or first few months, depending on the industry that you're in, this is not going to be true, right? You don't have unlimited income potential because you're barely there. You're barely making money. That's just true for any business. Whoever telling you the opposite is just lying, because this is how it works. If it were easy, everyone would do it in the beginning. But this, how much income you make, is just grows usually exponentially in entrepreneurship compared to 9 to 5. So you are not capped by climbing the corporate ladder, and you're not capped by having very few opportunities and just fighting for them by playing the ugliest corporate games and playing it with someone else's rules and not yours. Next, of course, the tax benefits. And I didn't understand this truly until I completed my 2025 tax return, both my personal taxes and my LLC taxes. And my friends, I had no idea how much my business expenses would save me. You can deduct your home rent, home mortgage, bills, utilities, the plane tickets you buy for business expenses, or like any expense that could be considered as a business expense. You can even deduct your health insurance that you're paying on your own, which is the reason majority of people are not leaving 9 to 5 jobs. That's essentially free. Tax benefits are crazy. The best part is the more income you make in your business, more tax benefits that you can unlock. In W-2 jobs, they just cut portion of your income and they don't even ask you. Next, fulfillment. Depending on what you do as a business, this will change, of course, but I'm assuming you pick something that you're passionate about because you left your 9 to 5 and that stable path. With every client, with every impact you make, with every service you sell or every product you sell, you're changing someone's life. And the fulfillment that comes from that, the fulfillment that comes from creating something of your own that can change people's lives, that is priceless. And the fulfillment that it's going to bring to you is just priceless. And the last one is actually a very important one. When you're building a business, you're building an asset. You're putting all your investment, resources, and time and expertise into building an asset. So when you decide to exit, quit, and do something else, you can actually sell it and make a good money because it's something valuable. It's an asset that you built. But in a W-2 job, no matter how many years you work for the company, they don't care about you the moment that you leave that job. And you leave with nothing. All the time and resources and your life and your youth that you poured into this company was just to get your paycheck. That's it. Basically, when you stop selling your time to this company, you're done. But in business, you invested all this time and energy and resource and you build something valuable. So that's an asset. You can sell it and you can make money. But here is the truth about having a business. So we'll talk about some cons here. First of all, it takes a lot of time, momentum, effort, patience, resources to build a successful business. I don't care how many internet gurus are saying you can work 2 hours a week and make 10K months. That is not true. Okay, I can guarantee you cannot hack this because think about it. Everyone could work 2 hours a week and make tens of thousands of dollars. If it were that easy, everyone would do it. People are not stupid. So this is a hard pill to swallow. I mean, for me as an entrepreneur as well, in the beginning, I thought it would be much easier, but it's actually not. In the beginning, it's just a reality. It takes a lot of momentum and time and trial and error to build something that sticks, something that can have traction, something that can be successful. It takes time and you have to be really patient. And that takes us to, you might not make money immediately. In fact, you're probably not going to make immediately in the first couple of months. I mean, of course, there are some business models that you can start making money as soon as possible, but those are the type of businesses you again trade your time and you get money for. So that's not much different from having a 9 to 5, which is fine. You still have your own business and you still are your own boss, but you're still trading that time So it's kind of like an employment. So except those type of businesses, you're not going to make immediate money. You have to build something and see some traction first to be able to generate some income, which takes us to the next two cons. And the first one is you're not going to have fixed income every month. And this is emotionally confronting. So I'll summarize these two. Because of the nature of business, because it's uncertain, you're just not going to have fixed income every month. That's just reality. You can still make way more than your W-2 job, but it's just going to be different amount every month. So you cannot sit there and wait the same amount of paycheck every month. Obviously, when you exceed your W-2 income, and if it's stable for a while, you can write yourself a fixed paycheck and it should work for you. But that's really not the nature of entrepreneurship and business. Some months, maybe you're going to decide to invest that back to the business. Or some months, maybe you're going to have more expenses, right? So you have to be really comfortable with the idea of, hey, you know what? In my personal bank account, I might not have the same amount every month. And again, that doesn't mean that you're going to make less money. In fact, I'm saying opposite here. If you do the right things and if you build the right business and if your business is successful, it's actually the opposite. Like you multiply all your income and opportunities. But in the beginning, especially, this is a hard pill to swallow. And that's just true. Last one is entrepreneurship, especially in the beginning, but I think this is true for the whole journey because you're always going to grow and evolve as a business and as a person as well, it is very emotionally confronting. There are going to be so many insecurities and limiting beliefs and mindset issues that are going to come up. It really is the perfect personal development journey. I can really tell you that. So I believe that you have to have a very thick skin to be able to be a good entrepreneur. If you don't like taking risks and being uncomfortable or facing your weak sides, it's a very confronting thing to do and you're not going to enjoy it. And you're going to quit. So something to keep in mind, which I also learned the hard way. So those were all the pros and cons, but I want to tell you something. There's one thing I keep hearing over and over again from the people who made the leap. And it's these sentences. I've never felt more myself than I do now, even on the hard days. So before I get into what I really think is the best having a business or working a job in 2025 and whether I regret my decision 1 year after I quit my Silicon Valley job, let's zoom out a bit and look at some actual data. According to a recent McKinsey report, over 40% of professionals are considering leaving their job in the next 6 to 12 months. Why? Not just for higher pay, but for more meaning, more control, and for their well-being. And here's what's wild. The rise of solopreneurs, especially in the coaching, consulting, and creator spaces, is exploding. Platforms like Substack, Kajabi, and School are seeing record growth. Approximately 20% of solopreneurs achieve annual earnings between $100K and $300K without outsourcing, and 34% of them actually started their business to have more freedom. So people are no longer waiting for someday. They're building income streams around their skills, stories, and lived experiences today. In addition to this, 9-to-5 jobs are dying. In fact, according to Reid Hoffman, they will be extinct by 2034. Again, this is not something I'm making up. This is what actually LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman said. This guy correctly predicted the rise of social media in 1997. This is what he exactly says. The gig economy revolution is coming, and it's bigger than you think. Within a decade, 50% of the US population will be freelancers. Now, finally, I want to give you my own take on this topic. After 1 year, do I regret my decision of leaving my Silicon Valley job? My friends, I'm gonna be honest. Building a business and being a full-time entrepreneur didn't turn out to be exactly how I thought it would be. Still, there are definitely some parts that I thought it would be much easier when I go full time, but it wasn't. And I guess before I quit, the part of that problem was I was being overly optimistic, as I always am, to a point where I am delusional sometimes. Still, my answer to this question is no, not even for a second. I am regretting this decision. And let me tell you, I've faced fears that I would never face in a job. I've grown faster than I ever did behind a corporate laptop. And most importantly, I felt really aligned in the past 1 year. I felt alive. I feel like I'm actually living the life I used to daydream about when I was in corporate meetings. My friends, I wake up 8 a.m. every morning and without any depressing thoughts because I am actually excited to wake up and work. But before I work, I go to my workout class because I know working out in the morning is the best investment that you can make to boost your mood, boost your mental clarity. And then we have a coffee hour with my fiance around 10 a.m. every morning because he's also an entrepreneur. And then I work for an hour and then make breakfast and eat. And from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., I have 3-hour uninterrupted focus time on my work. And around 4 p.m., I'm done. That's it. That's pretty much how I work. Now, with that, I'm going to go ahead and say with full transparency, I am still not making how much I used to make in my Silicon Valley job. I think that's normal after a year because you already have a very high salary and you're building something from scratch. But the thing is, based on the projections, it's a no-brainer for me to match and exceed my Silicon Valley salary just in 2 years. So just 2-3 years of uncertainty and effort, I can achieve my goals for lifetime. And without dealing with toxic work environments and 50-hour work weeks and just feeling trapped and seeing no future in a 9-to-5 job I don't like. So here's the truth. Neither path is better. The better path is always the one that is aligned with your values and what you're really good at. So if you want stability and low risk, and if you kind of like the job that you're doing, if you have a healthy work environment, then a job might be a better fit for you because you actually feel that sense of security a bit more. But if you're waking up every day and thinking, I'm meant for more. I crave more freedom, more income, more impact. And I suggest you don't ignore that voice because it's gonna worth it. I promise you, you can build a business that feels like home, that pays you much more and also lights you up. And you don't have to do it alone. If you're ready to seriously start working on your plan to leave your 9-to-5 and build a purposeful business that aligns with you, and also profitable, book a free clarity call with me. You can find the link in the description. With love.